My next question then for you, Dr. Moreland, is looking at the question of like, how can we recognize miracles? So what's your take on this topic?
That's a great question, Zach. Thanks for asking that. Um, I want to start with science. Certain fields of science, like forensic science, archaeology, linguistics, SETI, uh, and a couple of other branches of science, um, are trying to find ways to tell the difference between an effect that's caused by natural processes, like trees being split is an effect caused by a flash of lightning, so there's no personal agency involved in that, versus the dining room table being set in a certain way because we're having our Chinese neighbors over, not our Mexican friends. And that you can't explain why the table's there like that by the laws of nature. You have to appeal to an agent, an intelligent agent who chose freely for a purpose to set that thing up. And so in the sciences, they've developed a principle that is called either the intelligent agent principle or intelligent design principle. And Zach, just about 2 months ago, this was actually used with anthropologists who there was a cave that they knew Neanderthals had lived in, but there was a formation on the cave that there was a debate about whether it was a natural formation that was just kind of done by chance or if the Neanderthals drew it. And they applied the principle I'm going to share with you, and it is now almost universally agreed and published in a journal that this was done intentionally. The cause was an agent that did this formation purposefully. Now, the principle is this: if two conditions are met, then you can know beyond any reasonable doubt, because there are very few false positives, that what the event or the phenomenon you're studying was brought about by the action of an intelligent agent. And the first one is this: the event or the phenomenon has to be highly improbable. But that's not enough, because if you and I played bridge, and you and I were the only ones playing, and we had a $500 kitty we were playing for, and I get a perfect, I'm the dealer, but I deal myself a perfect bridge hand on the first deal. That's going to raise suspicion, because that's highly improbable. But your hand is every bit as improbable as mine. But your hand doesn't raise any suspicion because there's nothing interesting about your hand. But if somebody had predicted your hand would be exactly those numbers ahead of time, now that would have been pretty interesting. So the improbability has got to be one factor, but the second one is this: the phenomenon has to have special significance besides the fact that it happened. Now think about your hand. There's no significance to it at all, except it was the hand you got. In fact, the way to describe it is some hand or other that Zach was dealt. My hand, however, isn't just some hand or other that JP was dealt. There's something special about this particular hand that is according to the rules of bridge before we even sat down. Namely, anybody who gets that hand is a winner. It's the combination of improbability and that specialness that demonstrates that I cheated. Now, it was done on purpose by me, and it wasn't just a lucky coincidence. Now, this was actually applied years ago by the Democrats, who sued the Republicans and used this principle and won the court case. In the state of Ohio, there were, I think, 8 congressional districts voting for the state house elections. And there were about 7 or 8 candidates running in each of those districts. Well, the ballots were printed and distributed, and lo and behold, on all 8 districts, the Republican candidate was first, and the other 7 candidates were in random order. Now, that is highly unlikely for that to happen. But if you'd had some random order that was reproduced in every one of the ballots. That could have just been a coincidence. But what won the court case is that not only was it improbable, but there was something special about it. And here's what it was. We know that whoever is listed first on a ballot gets more votes just because they're first, and a Republican was in charge of printing the ballots. So he wanted the Republican candidates to win and had a vested interest in putting them first. So it was the improbability plus the fact that this result was special that indicated to the court that this was cheating and done on purpose by the ballot producer. Apply that to prayer. If you have a highly improbable thing happen, and it's exactly what you had been praying for, then you have specialness and improbability, and that indicates it was done on purpose by a great big agent, God in this case. So that's the application to miracles of a secular principle used in science, and it's very reliable.
Yeah, I think that's super helpful looking at the two like circumstances you have of those being improbability and then like something that's almost like a rare occurrence or something that like some sort, well, not a rare occurrence, but there's some sort of like reason undergirding it that would be like why this improbability may benefit somebody. So that's really helpful and I appreciate that. It's really good. So